Hi, thank you, Nigel. Thank you for inviting me to share what I've learned from looking at this psalm. Thank you for the opportunity for getting into the psalms again and remembering that these psalms are songs that would have been so familiar to the people of God. Like we learn nursery rhymes as children, but actually, and songs as children. You know, they get deep into our spirits and. The Psalms were like this for the people of God, and they were conversations with God about the real things of life, the things that matter most, hammered out over centuries and literally generations. The experience of the people of God, guided by the Spirit of God, absolutely about real stuff. And so when we find I and we in the Psalms, they're not particularly attached to historical figures, although sometimes one's attributed to David in a particular situation. But that's the whole point of the Psalms, is that they are the experience of God with which each of us can identify, can find something that we can connect with, and are very much about real human experience. So fantastic resource for us all, and I'm sure all of us have our favourite psalms because of the experiences we've been through and the times that those words have meant something important to us. Walter Brueggemann developed a framework for looking at psalms, so that every psalm that we look at, we can almost divide into three main categories, if you like, or the movement between those states. So one is orientation, second is disorientation, and the third is reorientation. And most of the Psalms you can sort of see within that framework either those states, representing those states, or the movement between those states. And I found that really helpful to think about. And also that the Psalms, you know, they're very much about the presence of God with us in difficult times, in challenging times. And I read this quote and I just loved it. We find the darkness strangely transformed, not by the power of easy light, but of relentless solidarity. Isn't that fantastic? The relentless solidarity of the presence of God. So the Psalms as a book developed gradually over centuries, literally. First of all, they started probably as liturgy in the temple, and then when the people of God were exiled in 586, they were all carted off to Babylon. Then they were kind of reframed and put together, and became almost a sacred literature worthy of meditation. And then became divided into 5 books or collections, each one ending with a doxology. And so Psalm 84 comes in book 3 of that. And there were titles to some of these collections. There were attributions to some of the Psalms, for example, the Davidic Psalms, the Sons of Korah. Psalm 84 is one of the songs of the Sons of Korah. Asaph, and the Songs of Ascent for the pilgrims going up into the temple. But very much in the post-exilic period, there was this focus on temple and Torah. The temple being to do with encounter with God, seeing his face. The Torah being about hearing from God and hearing his voice. And then they developed perhaps the Psalms as a model of prayer, particularly based on the life of David, David being known as a man after God's own heart. So this model of prayer, psalms as prayers that we can use and employ. And then lastly as prophecy, particularly in relation to the Messiah. There's lots of references to messianic prophecies within the Psalms, and I'm sure you'll be very familiar with those. Psalm 2, Psalm 22, Psalm 110, I think, yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Psalms were very much about their context anyways, is in encounter with God. They are faith sung as a prayer, not signed as a statement of orthodoxy. It's sung as a prayer. And there are 2 main questions when we come to the Psalms. Firstly, what place does this psalm have in Israel's worship? So when we're looking at Psalm 84, we're going to look at these 2 questions. And secondly, what spiritual or theological significance does this psalm contribute to our lives? So if we look at the first question, this psalm was probably sung on behalf of pilgrims. Those we can see from the words, those who pass through various regions or obstacles or challenges requiring strength until they each appear before God in Zion. Possibly it was used in connection with one of the 3 annual pilgrimages up to Jerusalem, which were Passover, or the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, Pentecost, which was harvest, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, as it was known, Feast of Ingathering. Definitely there are echoes of other psalms of the temple, Psalm 42, as the deer pants for the water, so my soul pants for you, O God. Psalm 63, O God, you are my God, earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you, my body longs for you. I have seen you in the sanctuary, beheld your power and your glory. Psalm 65 as well. But it also refers to blessings bestowed by God from the temple. So the blessings of rain, for example. And we'll look at that in just a minute. Also intercession for the king, that was a common theme. So the psalm has essentially, I think, 3 main themes. Firstly, corporate and individual, corporate versus individual. So you can see that there are references sometimes to the personal, my king and my God, it says in verse 3. My prayer, verse 8. And then sometimes it refers to the general. So our shield, God's referred to as our shield in verse 9. So, and then there's this kind of structure where it seems to alternate between addressing God as you in the second person, personal address, with the third person, which is the indirect reference to he or God. So maybe there was some kind of liturgical statement and response, priests and people, possibly, which might be reflected in that language. And then there was the 2 places of where the Beatitudes, blessed are. And I love to think about, the Psalms. Jesus would have known and absorbed and known by heart all these Psalms. And I love to think of him reading this Psalm and reading those Beatitudes and blessings and thinking, yes, what else? Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the sons of they shall inherit the Beatitudes that we are so familiar with, and maybe something of that started here with a meditation on this particular psalm. So that's one theme, corporate versus individual. Secondly, the supremacy, the absolute supremacy of God's dwelling place over every other, even the kings. So better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. There's a reference to the king as a shield, but God is the ultimate shield. He's our sun and our shield. And then thirdly, there's a kind of rejection, really, of the company of the wicked. So the company of the wicked versus walking with integrity and trusting in God. So the blessings, the Beatitudes, are kind of represent a different way, the other way, the alternative way of living, not with the wicked. And so the second question, what spiritual significance does this psalm contribute to our own lives? Well, I was thinking there were sort of 3 words that came to mind. The first was dwelling. The second was desire. And the third was destination. So 3 Ds. So it's all about dwelling with God. Where is our heart? Where do we dwell? Where do we rest? Where do we come back to? Where is our home? For the psalmist, the birds nesting close to God was such a powerful image of that sort of complete peace and trust, just returning to the place that was their home. So is God our home? How much is he the centre of all our resting place? It's a good question to ask ourselves every day. And how lovely, how dear, how beloved. This is the language of love poetry, of intimate desire, of desire for God and his character and his presence. And when we apply that to ourselves, we can examine our own desires. We can look to God to ask him to grow that desire for him in us. Because we can't just manipulate our desires. We can't make ourselves be something or necessarily want something, but we can influence our desire by what we focus on. So how much do we allow God in? How much do we focus on him? Do we embrace him and bring him and draw him into every part of our lives? Literally every part of our lives. And there's nothing too small that God isn't interested in. There really isn't. And sometimes when I come to a place and I think, oh, I'm not sure whether I should do this or this. I'm not sure if I should, pray, or what I really want to do is read this book. We can draw God into that choice, and we can draw God into the place of choice. Even if we want to read that book so much, God he doesn't want to be excluded from that. That's an important place to be and to draw him into. So every choice we make, let's not be stifled and hampered by the guilt of choosing the wrong thing or being somebody wrong. Let's just draw God into where we are and ask him to change what we need to have changed, and to just be part of what are our desires, so that he becomes that focus and he becomes involved in what we are looking at and focusing on, so we don't shut him out, because he is our dwelling place. So blessed are those who dwell in your house. Blessed are those whose strength is in you. Blessed is the man who trusts in you. So let our desire and our longing take us to God. May he be our destination, so that the triumph of the pilgrim reaching Zion and celebrating together with God's people, let God be our all in all, our ultimate destination, because he's going to be our destination. He is in all his fullness, and we're going to be known and know even as we are fully known.